miss it. I'm really getting sad. I'm gonna miss this. Don't you break a tear, Mom. Don't you do it. Hey crew, I've got the key to that 23 Audi R8 Performance Quattro. We are gonna take it for a drive, but first, let's check it out. It looks on the inside and outside. This is the final year of production for the Audi R8. It sits here in its second generation form. The original went on sale in 2006. I was in high school at the time, and that car with its 4.2 liter V8 manual transmission and striking design just reached out and grabbed me. And though that recipe is no longer available in the R8, this car still holds a place in my heart, and I'm gonna be sad to see it go. This one is pretty interesting as well because it's wrapped in a design by Frank Lamberty. He designed the original R8 LMP race car. He styled the 2003 Le Mans Quattro concept, which eventually became the production car, which he also designed. And the wrap is built around this ethos of R8 being born on the track, and that's why the back end has the same wrap job as the R8 GT3 race car, and then built for the road. And that's why at the halfway point, it transitions into what looks like a standard R8 road car. This one also has some other details, like on the roof, there's an outline of Laguna Seca. It also has a lot of optional carbon fiber pieces, like the front splitter, the sills, the door mirrors, the side blades, the rear wing, and the diffuser outline. Quattro cars also get carbon ceramic brakes as standard, and the 20-inch wheels are wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 245 section front and 305 at the rear. And then of course there's the huge piece of glass overlooking the naturally aspirated V10 motor. All these years later, the R8 still turns heads everywhere it goes. So my question for you is, which generation turns your head quickest? The first generation or this second? Let me know in the comments, and let's check out the interior. Opening up and looking inside, there's not a wild interior to match the far out wrap job, but you do have some goodies like these 18-way power adjusting heated Nappa leather seats with the sport seat package. They've got diamond stitch quilting with red accents. There's also quilting on the Alcantara headliner. You get aluminum accents for the foot pedals, carbon fiber and aluminum tread plates. The doors are covered in leather with more of that red contrast stitching. There's an upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system, 2 one-touch windows, power adjusting and power folding door mirrors. Hit this button to pop open the front trunk and find 4 cubic feet of space. The only other storage is going to be behind the seats. Pull on the leather straps and find a little parcel shelf. There's a lot of gloss carbon fiber in here, like on the doors, on this dashboard trim, the gauge cluster surround, the center tunnel, and the air vents. Here in the driver's seat, I'll close up the door to listen for the thud, which is so solid, such quality. Drivers have a perforated leather wrap steering wheel with a flat bottom. It feels great in the hands. The paddles in the back of the wheel, though, do not. They're cheap plastic. Lots of controls on the wheel, a red start-stop button, your exhaust operation, performance or launch control start, drive mode selection, and then beyond that is a digital instrument cluster that is reconfigurable. It's also your infotainment system. You see there's no secondary screen, so everything from your backup camera to your wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is here. Beyond that is leather covering the dashboard. There's a Quattro badge on the passenger side. Your climate controls are these really neat pods that come out with dials up top and buttons underneath. Slide back the leather panel to find a wireless charging pad, 2 USB-A ports, an aux jack, and a DC outlet. There's a perforated leather wrap gear selector, physical volume knob and tuner buttons, key slot, then this dial to control the infotainment if you don't want to use the buttons on the steering wheel. Further back is leather topping the console, which just has cup holders inside. Visibility, acknowledging that the wrap comes down a little onto the windscreen, is good up until you get to here. Then the headrest back to the end of the engine glass is a blind spot, and there's no blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. Headroom for myself at 6 feet tall is sufficient. That gets the thumbs up. And this cabin overall hasn't had a whole lot of updates in this generation, but still manages to feel fresh. And the all black theme is conservative, sure, but the driver focus is really cool. Speaking of, let's take the R8 for a drive. All right, let's fire it up. So good. Does a red start-stop button and a V10 startup ever get old? I don't think it possibly can. Hello, cabin crew. Thank you for joining me for this last drive in a new R8. I think I'm going to be the last media professional to drive the R8 press car before they take it out of the fleet, so this feels special. And today's video is going to be a little different than usual. Usually I will get in the weeds with the specs and the driving dynamics. For this one, I'm going to talk more about the arc of the R8 during its life, what it's meant for me personally, what it's meant for the industry. And I mean, don't worry, I'm still going to go into the world famous horn test, turn signal sound. I'll launch the car, I'll take a corner fast, I'll do the good stuff. But I want to talk more about this car holistically before it goes into the ether. So we'll start in the drive mode called comfort, because that's what we do here at MilesPerHr. We're in comfort, and then I'm going to click forward on the gear selector to go into reverse. The backup camera is right here in the gauge cluster, and I will scoot on out. It's not a wide angle camera, so I'm also going to use my head to look. We do have trajectory lines. I'll head down into drive. Don't worry about the parking sensors. With the wrap, they said it kind of messes with those. And away we go. Let's do the world famous horn test. Yeah? That's just an average horn. That's a very average horn for a supercar, an above average car. Turn signal sound is also very typical. But that's okay. Because you know what isn't? The engine. We have a 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10 motor. It makes 602 horsepower in this performance trim application and 413 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to a 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission and sends power to all 4 tires in this Quattro trim. There's also a rear drive version of the R8 still on sale, and you can have it both as a coupe or as a convertible. Now, I mentioned that the R8 first came out in 2006 when I was still in high school, and yes, that does mean I'm in my 30s. The car was the second Audi that really put the brand on the enthusiast map for me personally, because I hadn't followed them through their rally days with the Quattro rally car, and so the R8 came out shortly after the RS4 was making a big splash with shows like Top Gear, which I watched religiously. They were comparing it to the C63 AMG and the BMW M3, and they were loving the 4.2 V8 and the manual transmission and the all-wheel drive system. And so I said, hey, Audi's got something here. And then they dropped the R8, and my jaw dropped with it, because that car was so low slung. It had that continuous side plate, which became iconic. It had the 4.2 V8. It had a gated manual option. It was just spectacular. And it was unique, not just in the look, not just in the mid-mounted motor, which eventually became a choice of 4.2 liter V8 or 5.2 liter V10, not just those things, but the fact that the R8 wasn't priced into the stratosphere, and it was, at the time, the most daily drivable supercar on offer until the second generation Acura NSX came out later. It didn't have an overly restrictive cabin. The ride wasn't brittle. The naturally aspirated motor delivered very linear power. It just was, it was approachable. And as the R8 has grown over time, most of those things have stayed true. The price point has definitely risen. I mean, this Quattro performance model is a $213,000 proposition before you add options, and that puts it very, very close to the starting price of the sister of this car, the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. But everything else is pretty much status quo. Let's see about the turning radius. See if that's still good. Wheel cranked. Yeah, I mean, for an all-wheel drive supercar, That's a pretty tight turn. And the V10 motor in the lower part of the rev range stays subdued. It is very easy to access, even here, or especially here in comfort drive mode. The ride, the fixed dampers of the performance trim compared to the adaptive dampers of the other R8 models mean the ride is a little busier, but the dampening is still excellent. And the seat comfort is there as well. So this car is no more of a chore now to daily drive than it ever was. And the carbon ceramic brakes even aren't too grabby. They don't squeal. You can casually make your way up to a stop. And the 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, that is pretty traditional in dual clutch terms, where the first couple gears, you feel the defined changes, and if you catch it off guard, where it just has to re-engage the gear, you will lurch forward or backward. It's just something you can live with, though. We still have to see how quick the R8 Performance Quattro is to 60. That's up next. Sweet Thunderbird. I'm getting off topic here. All right, launch control in the R8 is very simple. You just hit the checkered flag to engage performance mode. You hold your foot on the brake, pin the throttle, build up the revs, and let go of the brake. Here goes. 2.9 seconds to 60. That doesn't get old. Nor does the auditory sensation of that soundtrack. Yes, the Huracan may be more boisterous, especially at low speed, but when you get it above 5,000 RPM, this car is just as intoxicating. That noise fills the cabin. And you feel invigorated to drive this car. Completely. Ah, the overrun! Take it out to the 8,600 RPM red line and enjoy every second. With that all-wheel drive system, the R8 is still one of the quickest things on four wheels. It's not one of the fastest with just 602 horsepower in this era of mid-700 to 800 horsepower supercars, but it's still such a thrill to string it out. The noise! I'm gonna miss the noise so much when Audi goes all electric. What are we gonna do? We're just gonna have to savor it right now, right in this moment. Savor this. I don't have the words. I just don't have the words. The car has it for me. It has the words for me. Silly, special car, this. Oh, I'm gonna miss it. I'm really getting sad. I'm gonna miss this. Don't you break a tear, Mom. Don't you do it. But man cannot live on acoustic wonderment alone. He needs braking and handling performance. So I'm going to carry some speed into this curve before I go full ABS on these carbon ceramics. See how they perform. Excellent stability and stopping distance. Back end will rotate nicely with a little lift off to tuck you in. And mechanical limited slip differential shoves you out the back end. Well, gee, that was so nice. I think I'd like it twice. Hot dog! The all-wheel drive grip, the stability there, the speed. It's not perfect. This dynamic ratio steering rack, despite being very convenient around town and then really responsive in a performance environment, doesn't give me much feedback, and so I don't know where the limits of adhesion are in relation to the tires, so I just have to trust the all-wheel drive system. And then these paddles, these plasticky things, they're just not that fun to operate. But the car in total, in a performance situation, is exhilarating. And so I'm sitting here wondering, what's next for Audi? They haven't announced a successor to this car, and I can kind of understand their cautiousness. The all-electric R8, the e-tron from 2015, was so woefully received. The sales were like abysmal. I think they sold 100 of them. Granted, battery and electric motor technology has improved a lot, and consumer acceptance of those type of vehicles has risen, has improved a lot. But for them to come out with a successor to this car, it has to bring at least some of the excitement that this car has for all these years. And I understand that this version of the R8 is played out, and I would love for them to say, we're going to bring a third generation R8, we're going to really tweak the internal combustion motor, we're going to find something really special to carry it on. But because they're not doing that, I understand that this car is tired and it needs to be retired. Tired needs to be retired. It does, right? But what's next? What is going to get enthusiasts excited about the next Halo Audi product? I'm not entirely sure. And so I just have to celebrate what this car has been for all these years, what it's meant to enthusiasts like myself, and hope, really hope in my heart, that what is coming is going to inspire a whole new generation of people to look at Audi and go, you care. You care, and you're going to put the research, you're going to put the effort into coming up with something that people want, kids want to put on their bedroom walls. They want to have it as a poster, or in this case now, a smartphone background. Which leads to my MilesPerHr word of the day, which for the R8 is reminisce, meaning to indulge in fond remembrance of the past. And there is a lot of the R8's history and character to indulge in, and I am thinking primarily of the past because this car, even this Quattro Performance, has existed largely unchanged for the last 6 years. So I think you could find one on the used market for a good deal, and the cars have proven themselves to be fairly reliable. So unless you're getting a great deal on a new R8, you can find yourself a used one. And right now the market is decently soft for the R8, depends on the model and trim variation, and I hear it's ramping back up. So for myself, that's not good news, because I would love to eventually find an NA or V10 with a gated manual transmission, but I might miss the window. And so I ask you this, not yet knowing exactly what's going to replace this car, apart from knowing it is going to be all electric. Audi's already said everything new that's introduced from 2025 on will be electrified. Not yet knowing exactly what it's going to be. Are you going to miss the R8 when it's gone? I certainly will, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this little walk down memory lane with the Audi R8. If you did, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell to get notified. And I will let it run out one more time before I say I'll see you next time.